Kitachu, and I'm the Frosh Staff Associate at Beam. And here I am today with Leslie Howard from Galileo. So Leslie, tell me about what you do now in your role at Galileo.
Yes, so I
Galileo.
Absolutely. So I currently work for Galileo Learning, and we are an innovative education summer camp company, which means that we put on programs in the summer that inspire kids to be innovators who envision and create a better world. And this is both for elementary school and middle school students. And with Galileo currently during the school year, I am the outreach coordinator for campus relations, meaning that I handle all of the communication that goes out to various universities, and I come onto campuses to meet students in person. And my entire goal is to provide opportunities for college students to gain employment and join us over the summer. And then also in the summer, I go to camp as well. I'm not just getting people to come to camp, I go too. And I'm the assistant camp director for Camp Galileo, our elementary school program in Oakland.
Okay. So what is the culture like at Galileo?
That's a really great question. I think Galileo has a really unique culture in the sense that it's so exceptionally welcoming and joyful. People really and truly want to support you and help you out. I have incredible mentors here, and it's just a really supportive community.
Okay. So tracking back, what did your journey from college, I guess, time and onwards look like? Were there any internships or jobs that you think were particularly contributed to your skill set and your success in your role today?
Absolutely. So right after undergrad, I started working for Galileo at camp in the summer. As the assistant camp director, I'm going into my third summer in that role now. And that role really helped me develop into who I am as a professional now. I started out working for a camp director who I still work for, who's an incredible mentor and a great support in making big life decisions and finding more work and then finding a full-time job. And I also gained a lot of confidence working and managing people, and then had realized at the end of undergrad that I was really interested in education. And working for Galileo gave me an opportunity to dive into some of these larger pedagogical questions and looking at curriculum hands-on. And also just getting to create a lot of fun for kids and reminding myself that, yes, I do love to work with children. So that's kind of part one. Part two is I went to grad school. I got my master's the year after I finished undergrad. I have a master's of science in youth studies, which is basically an education degree, but looking at the youth experience and a lot of sociological theory. And that expanded the way that I look at the world. And it taught me critical thinking skills. It just exposed me to so many new ideas. I also did my master's internationally. So I went to the University of Glasgow in Scotland. Nationally, again, really changed the way I look at the world. It makes me a better and more empathetic communicator and more aware of the people around me.
Okay, that sounds really great and a really worthwhile and rewarding experience. So going back further, what were you involved in during your time in college, and how does this contribute to your building your skills and connections in the field that you're in today?
Absolutely. So I did my undergrad in theater performance and journalism for strategic communication. And before I studied education, and the big kind of turning point there for me was that I worked for career services. And I was a careers advisor, a paraprofessional career advisor, meaning that I was trained to have 100 hours of training or more so to help students figure out and also how to prepare for jobs and what their next steps are. Experience, I got to work directly with university students, and I also had the opportunity to teach students and teach a professional development course. And through that, I learned that I like teaching. I like working with students. And I think that that transition from university to the world of work is fascinating. How does your educational experience carry into your professional experience? And that ended up informing my choice to work for Galileo over the summer, having that opportunity to jump into education even more. I have a camp background as well, so that's the other reason that I was inspired to take that job. But really jumping into those big education ideas, which was then folded over even further into what I chose to do for my master's research, which is all about that transition from university to the world of work for art students specifically. So always kind of taking those opportunities in undergrad to have a job that was a little bit out of the box for me really has informed my decisions. At the same time, I said I studied theater and journalism, and I use those skills every day. The theater degree is so transferable and has helped me not only when I go and talk to students on campus and talk in person and hear their stories, and has really inspired that love of story, but also just helps me communicate with others regularly. Public speaking is a big part of my job now, and having those abilities to be in front of a crowd or do an interview and be calm and feel like I know what I'm doing has been incredibly transferable. And the same with the strategic communication. It's all about talking to people and writing and oriented communication set so that when we send something out to a university, it's received positively. And so that it's received in a way that excites people, the way that we hope to not only excite the people who work with us, but the kids who come to our programs.
Okay. So going off of the skills that you've gained, what are the most important skills? I guess you kind of highlighted it before, but are there any other skills that are pretty pertinent to your job today?
Absolutely. I already talked a bit about those communication skills, whether they be written or verbal. I also think that critical and strategic thinking are so important. I use them every day. I use them in my job here when I'm doing campus relations, whether I'm writing something, whether I'm thinking about how we write something, whether I'm thinking about our strategy as a whole. But I really use them at camp because camp is a highly active, exciting environment. And there are lots of little details. We have almost 300 kids every week. And there are a lot of moving parts involved with that and, a staff of 50 people. So how do I strategically think about our program in order to make it run as smoothly as possible, in order to make it fun, in order to have both the entertaining aspect and logistics that work really well, that make the experience enjoyable for our families, our campers, and our staff?
Okay. So I guess, what is your favorite part of your job?
That's such a hard question. This is definitely a two-part question because my favorite part of my job is the people that I get to interact with. I thoroughly love the people that I work with. They're exciting and inspired, and they want everyone around them to do well. I also enjoy meeting with people in person and meeting students and getting to have those cool conversations at a career fair, at a networking event, and really learning about what students want and trying to figure out how students when they come work for us. The other part of my job that I love is the fun and excitement that we create at camp. I think that it's such a unique experience that we can give kids an opportunity to come to camp and think big thoughts and be innovators, and also at the same time have it be outside of a regular classroom so that they're really having fun and doing this project-based learning that I think a lot of really great teachers do incorporate in their classrooms. Come out and have that break from traditional education, and as a part of that, we just have a lot of fun. We put on little skits. Anytime during the day, you can find me putting on Band-Aids or helping in classrooms, but you can also find me hypnotized by rubber chicken. There are just parts of the job that are so unique and interesting and exciting. And that's really what I love about my job.
Okay. So I guess going into what Stanford students can do, what kind of opportunities are available for current undergrads and graduates, and just in particular, are there any positions that are very good for freshmen and sophomores? I know it's harder to get into internship experience and just job experience in general.
Yes, absolutely. So with Galileo, we actually hire 2,000 people every summer. We have 79 campsites between the Bay Area, Southern California, and Chicago, with jobs ranging from a summer intern role, which is really great if you're either a rising freshman or a freshman in college, up through our team leader role, which is more of a traditional camp counselor role, and then into teaching positions and leadership positions. At summer intern role, it's really camp operations. As an assistant camp director, I can't do my job without summer interns because they make camp run. It's a really versatile role in the sense that you get to work with families, you get to work with campers, you get to work in the classroom, you get to make sure that every kid has lunch, you get to help with that playtime and also create that sense of fun. So I think that that role, if you want to try a bunch of different things and constantly be going, is phenomenal. And I like to think that we have a lot of fun too. And then moving into that team leader or camp counselor role, that role is really, really student focused. Everything is student focused, but that person really gets to be with that group all day, especially at the elementary school level, and build the community within that group. We also have our middle school program that I mentioned earlier, and that more camp counselor role is actually called an assistant instructor because the students are in the same classroom all day. They pick a major, as opposed to at the elementary school level where they switch classes. And that assistant instructor gets to work directly with the subject matter that the students are learning, reality or YouTube producing or cooking. And again, very student focused, building that team. And then moving on from there, from that team building role, we're going into the instructor role. And that can be anything from teaching science to 4-year-olds or teaching virtual reality or a go-kart building course to middle schoolers. And that person has subject-based knowledge, which we can always train on, but they really get to lead students through these cool ideas that we're throwing at them. I jumped into a classroom to teach last summer and was teaching pneumatics, which is basically hydraulics with air. I had to look it up, to 6-year-olds. And so they get to take students on this journey and introduce them to these new ideas. And again, they're working and they're supporting other teachers, and all of these teachers, I think it's really great. They get to learn from each other and create their classrooms. And that's a really great role if you're either just about to graduate or a recent graduate or are a teacher already. And you get to practice your skills, you get to try new things, try our curriculum. And that role's a really, again, a versatile position. Moving on from there, we have leadership roles. Like I mentioned, I'm an assistant camp director, and I jumped into that this summer after my senior year of college. And those are roles where you get to manage staff and work directly with summer interns and team leaders and teachers and be sure that you can support them and have everything that they need. In addition to that assistant camp director role, we have an extended care coordinator where you get to build your own program. And you're running our after hours camp program for parents who need to pick up their students a little bit later and create that fun and that joy at the end of the day for campers. That's still part of camp, but has its own feeling to it and makes those campers feel really special and excited for that time that they're spending with us. Have an operations coordinator role, so if you really like the details, you like to help and make sure that everything is running smoothly and that campers and families have what they need, I think that role is phenomenal. That person does, I would almost call all this undercover work at camp to make sure that everyone has exactly what they need and kind of keeps, they're the grease that keeps the cogs moving.
Okay. Is there any last pieces of advice that you'd want to give to freshmen that are prospectively looking to go into your field? Just like some few pieces. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think this is a great question. And I've been thinking about this a lot recently. And one of the conclusions that I've come to is that if you want to be in education, if you want to work with kids, there are so many different ways in which you can do that. And I highly encourage you to explore lots of them and find out what you like, because whether you're a traditional classroom teacher, whether you're a recruiter for an education company, whether you are an assistant camp director, a political advocate, a principal, a dean, a professor, we all have this goal of helping people on their journey to learn and experience life and arguably be better people. My advice is to really dive into this, find what interests you. And then at the same time, never stop learning yourself. Keep your mind open, keep learning as much as you can, and just enjoy the journey, because that's what it's really all about. So that's my kind of final bit of advice.
All right. Thank you so much. This is great. We hope that Stanford students, the ones that are watching, are able to learn more about Galileo and look into Galileo. It's a great place to work and a great has a great mission and things like that. So thank you very much. It was nice having you.
Nice talking to you too.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.